Can you believe that from 2018 to 2026, I have 66 episodes in Apple Podcasts, and I guess the same on Spotify. Yeah, also on Spotify. That is a lot of content. And if I check in YouTube, it's about 75 episodes, 75 videos. I'm not sure if that's including the short videos that I do sometimes, shorts. Maybe it does, but I haven't checked really. So it has been almost 10 years, 8 years since I'm uploading in Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So I guess it's not a matter of content. Wow, even like some funny ones, for example, Rise of the Machines. That's funny because that was in 2023. So I was talking about ChatGPT, AI, and FTX kind of things. I also have a chapter is called French fries. And the chapter is talking about why when we get in a lot of restaurants, when we get some dishes, the side dish is always French fries. Almost always. Then I have one that is random beer. Remember that episode? The mystery of the light inside the freezer and vaccines. That was a pretty old episode. So I guess that's around COVID times. Interesting. So today I was talking after the gym with my friend Andrew. And we were just talking about businesses and life overall. And I mentioned to him that one of my businesses that I've been thinking is also grow my podcast, because at the end, you can monetize your podcast. It's easier to monetize it in YouTube, they say, because if you want to monetize it on Spotify or Apple Podcast, basically you need sponsors who pays you to create content there, not like YouTube that pays you because amount of views. Anyway, it's not that I'm Joe Rogan either, that they can buy my podcast like for, I don't know, was it like 120 million? But I mean, Joe Rogan podcast pretty good. Anyway, coming back to the conversation with Andrew. So I told him that I had a podcast since about 8 to 10 years ago. And so he was questioning me, not questioning me, but he was asking me about what do I have in my podcast, or why am I doing it? And I told him it's good for me practicing learning stuff and me practicing how to talk to people or how to do the storytelling part that I think I have never mentioned, at least in the YouTube videos that I have, why I started this, the podcast. And actually, before the podcast, I had a vlog that I think still available, but that's part of the story. But I will come back for that later. I was telling Andrew about my podcast and what I was planning to do. So I told him that I have been having for the longest time to make my podcast big enough is because of my lack of consistency. I know it's boring. It's boring, the consistency topic all the time. People say, actually, I have heard people saying the consistency is boring, that I have to disagree with that. Consistency is not boring. Actually, it's nice in a way that if you follow a pattern, or if you follow, for example, you go to the gym 4 or 5 days a week, or let's say every day for, I don't know, 5 years, then what is the return that you're going to get? You're going to become stronger, or depend on the type of the gym, you're going to learn different abilities. You're going to maybe become more flexible, not just stronger. Maybe you join a martial arts school, then you can learn how to fight, you learn some discipline. Maybe you learn a painting school. So that's the consistency, and it brings you something positive to your life. So when people say that, oh, because it's just so boring, Fernando, why you say such a boring stuff? I was like, okay, sure. Last episode, I was talking about grown-ass man and things that you should probably not doing as a grown-ass man. And apparently one of the things the grown-ass man should be doing is being consistent. And again, which is a little bit annoying because I have started and stopped this podcast for a long time. But the good news about this is, like my friend Vlad, if you watch this episode. I'm going to take your word. I texted today Vlad and my friend Otman, and I asked them if they want to be part of the podcast, since actually Otman mentioned in the chat group that we have that he's happy that I'm still following up with my podcast. I'm being consistency, trying to bring the Random Guy podcast. This is the name of the podcast in Spotify, at least. He's happy that I'm being consistent about it. So I asked them, would you guys like to be in the podcast? And Vlad has been already in the podcast before, not in video, just in audio. And he said, yeah, man, I'm in. I'm still waiting for Otman answer, but we can start with Vlad. Why not? And if Otman wants to join, even better. This consistency issue is that I created a project in ChatGPT where I put the days that I want to do the recording, the episodes that I want in a certain amount of time, some of the topics that I want to talk about. I also put some of the scripts that I'm writing already. And I also asked ChatGPT to check on my YouTube and check on my Spotify on the episodes that I have, so I don't repeat again, or if I to repeat it, maybe do it in a different context. Then what ChatGPT mentioned that I think is interesting is not that I don't have direction or content, but the issue is that I have too many direction without packing them into repeatable formats. And why I say that this is interesting is this is exactly the point when ChatGPT and some Gen AI applications, or a lot of them, let's say, they lack some context. And again, this could be working against me, because if you guys have seen my podcast in YouTube and in Apple Podcasts as the Random Guy podcast. So what does it mean to be random? Of course, random topics. Again, this might be suboptimal, let's say, since when you watch some YouTube channels, for example, some people talk about Apple devices, some people talk about some video games specifically, like Astacross, that he talked about Destiny games or other creators, and then you come to my channel and I'm just talking about a lot of grown-ass man things and questions that I have, and martial arts and whatnot, and food, and just basically some rants. So I guess some people might get confused about what I'm talking about. But then from the other side, I think that it could work, since, Joe Rogan did it, and Joe Rogan talks about a lot of different topics. He has been having guests who talk about technology. He has having guests that talk about politics. He has guests that talk about martial arts. Of course, I'm not Joe Rogan, but maybe it could work for me. Why not? I think that the podcast is not growing as much as I wanted, not because it's bad, but because of lack of consistency. That's what I'm trying to fix now. So if you guys have seen, I've been trying to put this every week. And if you guys one of my 3 listeners, one day you guys think that maybe a certain topic, or maybe you guys want to bring certain guest, yeah, why not? Maybe you can just let me know on the comments, or how do you contact me? I don't know, maybe I can even make an email address so people can text me there. But a lot of people have also access to my TikToks and Instagram, so people can text me there, and I could just reply and maybe make some content from there to be more consistent. So that's what I have been doing for the past, I think, 2 months so far. And I think it's great, because making a channel, building a podcast, it takes effort in many ways. It takes building something in your head, create maybe from an idea that you have in your head, create a script, and this script can be shared with someone. That is, if I have a guest, then I can share with them, and then we can talk about something like I used to do with Jorge in the other podcast. Or it's just like a monologue, me talking about something. If you've seen some of my episodes before, you can see that some of them, they were very well produced in a way that I had some background music. Sometimes the sound was not as good as I was thinking, because I was like experimenting with microphones. The ones that I have video, sometimes the light or maybe the image is not as nice as we wanted, because also experimenting with cameras and using what we have at hand. That if you ask my friend Juan Carlos, he said that that's why my podcast is not growing, because it's shit quality. But yeah, I like it why I come back to doing these things. It makes you use your head and try to bring new ideas or bring back the old ideas that I have and make them from ideas to something that you can communicate. So I guess it makes me a better communicator, that in one way or another, it might help me also for my work, for my hobby of teaching CrossFit or teaching martial arts. A few months ago, when I was buying a air ticket to go to, I don't remember, was to Japan, yeah, months ago, almost a year ago, when I was booking the ticket in Singapore Airlines. After you book, you put your choices that you want, like different type of tickets. They have uh, an option that if you pay an extra, let's say $2 or something, or some cents, you can offset part of their carbon footprint. Then I start to think, why do I have to offset your carbon footprint? Big corporation, and it's just not Singapore Airlines, it's all kind of corporations. Then they try to sell you something that is called carbon footprint. Means that if you pay them some extra bucks, you will help them to reduce the carbon footprint. There, the way I see it is like a scam, because I don't get anything, and you guys using this as a marketing strategy, basically, so you guys sound like eco-friendly, but at the end, you guys are just trying to make more money from my money. And I even read that there's studies that these initiatives that a lot of companies have, they're not doing anything. They're just making extra money somehow, but they cannot offset any carbon footprint. So it makes me a little bit angry. I think angry is the word, how big corporations keep taking advantage of us with those marketing strategies that a lot of people fall without thinking that, some people, $2-3 in everything that you buy, it means something. It's hard-earned money. So it's not fair for you guys that ask us to pay for your carbon footprint. And don't get me wrong, I think that we shouldn't be polluting, contaminating. We should be mindful about the resources that we use and the things that we discard, and how do we use, I don't know, your car, how do you maximize your resources without, I don't know, contaminating more. But all these things about the carbon footprint, I think is getting out of control, when even countries mention that they want to be carbon neutral, because big countries, developed countries, industrialized countries, they need to do it, and they try to push the small players. And in this case, I know that some small countries, they have way bigger problems, like education and infrastructure and other things that really matter. But no, they have to entertain the carbon footprint from the big dogs. That I think is a waste of time and money. Like, for example, like, who's going to pay for those efforts in a country that has no manpower to maintain their natural resources, their forests and their parks? And on top of that, they want us to, instead of making these parks available for more people to visit, and then the country can grow and give some jobs, they close the parks, because the more green areas, more parks that you have untouched, then you can call yourself that you're more green, that you have less CO2 footprint. But then there's no jobs, there's no growth. There is, like, I don't know, all this mind fart that people think about carbon footprint. Yeah, it gets me upset sometimes if you can see it happening. Yeah, anyway, that's something that it has been in my head for a couple of weeks. And that's why I like to do podcasts. and to try to make a video, because I have an idea, I think about it for a while, I come to my computer, to my phone, then my phone is a small computer as well, and you look for information, and then you get educated a little bit more, and then boom, you come with something that it might be interesting for you, or maybe not. We all have different views of the world, but well, that's a good thing. In this time, we can make a video, put it in YouTube, say what I think, and it should be okay as far as you respect the other ones and you don't do crazy shit and you start not saying, I don't know, some dumb shit that people say sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't even get to these channels. And that's another topic, right? Another topic, that some good things that they should come to the mainstream channels. They never come because there's political agendas and blah, blah, blah. One of the beginnings of my channel was because I had also a blog. Back in the days, there was something called blog with a B, not vlog, but blog. Basically, people many years ago, they have their own address in the internet, in the World Wide Web. You have your own URL. Let's say you buy a domain, .com or .net or .whatever, and you can just make a post and you can just talk about something, make stories, talk about cooking or whatever. And during those days, that was back in about 2012 and about there, I was traveling a lot. I was moving to different countries. In early 2010, I was mainly in the United States in America, but then I started going to other places a little bit further, like Europe and Africa, and then I ended in Singapore way later, in Asia, of course. But then I remember one day I came after one of my trips in Iowa or something, and I met my dad, and I was just talking to him, and then my family, people were asking stuff, and he said, "Oh man, Fernando, you have such an amazing stories. You know, you should start writing a book, or maybe you should start like writing a blog or something and keep it on your computer or posting it somewhere." Even my dad back then, he was not such a old school uncle that he didn't know about the power of internet. So he was telling me this. Basically, he mentioned a book, he mentioned a blog, he mentioned internet. He mentioned even that you don't even have to make it public, but you should have it there, even as memories. Fast forward to 2014, I was moving to Europe. I moved to Romania in 2015. I guess there about 2014, 2015. And I was dating this very nice lady that I was telling her some stories about when my old man and these things. And for the Christmas that we spent together, she gave me a .com site that it was called theforeignertimes.com, because she knew that I always called myself, every time we go, I say I'm always a foreigner, I have to make a life, and I have a lot of stories. So that's how it started. She gave me a blog that I can start building myself, leverage with WordPress, so I can build my own website with widgets and stuff, and I could just put a blog. So I started to do that in 2016, I guess. I put some vlogs, but around that time, it was like already YouTube was something big, and the vlog and stuff was already going there. So blogs started to lose some power, I guess. But that's the start of me as a creator, I would guess, because I wanted to share my experiences. A lot of people told me that I have funny stories. My dad told me that I have a good storyteller vibe. And that's why I started. And then YouTube came. I saw how easily it was to open a YouTube channel. Then I saw how easily it was to upload podcast. That podcast was a new stuff that it was not very popular either. And that's it. So now we're talking. So if I have been consistent from 2015 or so, including my blog, who knows? Things might be different. But well, I cannot complain. Things are good. And now we're back to this channel. So I guess we can close with that. It has been a long way, but now we're back. And maybe next week, maybe in 2 weeks, we will have Vlad. And if not, I promise to have something more interesting to talk about. Maybe something funny, maybe something technology, or maybe I can start making some specific buckets of topics like grown ass man conversations or parental advice that no one asked for. Yeah, something like that. Okay, guys. See you guys very soon. Peace.